Well, Greg just cleaned a bathroom out in here.
Hey, now.
But welcome to October, everybody. And
that's my special
Big
diet.
Greg, and we are chock full of the tricks or treats. Yes, that's very bland, banal. But I got caught in traffic coming here. Lucky I'm here.
Yes.
I was speeding like that kid in Whiplash trying to get here. But watch out if you go on 390 on Sunday.
I still have not watched that movie because I really don't want to see demented, sadistic teachers.
You know, actually, that's something we could talk about really quick. So, it's October. We have lots and lots of guests for you. Unless they vanish like phantoms, you know how it can be on the show. But lots of really interesting guests. So we're going to talk a little bit of Halloween now in case we don't get the opportunity, even though we'll sprinkle it in. You know,
scary, spooky.
Adriana's songs are scary. If she's on, we can have them on. But Whiplash. Now, the idea, I watched it again. And now I talked to Kyle Vach about this. And every musician I know hates this movie. And probably for good reason.
Well, I mean, I've had serious teachers who have called me out for, not being prepared and things like that. But it was never like to a sadistic, play till you bleed thing.
There's a scene too where this is one part where he brings them in and he tells them we're going to play this, and they play something else to embarrass them. Now, I asked Kyle Vach about this, quite the musicians, played with classical. He said nobody would ever do that. You might mess with them a little. Now, I mean, in your experience, all years playing, have you ever messed with have anybody, like, say you got somebody came in with a band you really weren't fond of, did anybody ever mess with them like that?
Well, I mean, we might play something stupid in a break where it's supposed to be silent, and we would just hit a bass, hit a wood block or something just to get a laugh. But other than that, I don't think we would.
Yeah, see, for me, I looked at it and it wasn't even fun. I
couldn't mess with Ray Shaheen, man. Andy will tell you that.
Yeah, I know. I'm a tough taskmaster on the carnival. I expect perfection, but that's the idea of the movie where he says "good jobs" are the worst words in the English language. Because it's not great. And he's like, his view is like he pushes you. But who'd want like a guy, would you like to play for a music teacher who throws cymbals at you, beats you, makes you play?
No, but I did have one at NAS that flunked me in percussion, if you can believe that one.
He drummed up a bad grade on that
I
one.
drummed up a bad grade. And I had to take summer lessons with him and pay for them myself. And, then I got a B or something. I mean, I worked my tail off. I really did. I mean, it taught me something.
Well, it
taught me you can't fake it.
In this day and age, this teacher would have got canned within less than a week at the school.
Right.
But I remember, like, this be like a 50s guy, because like, some of the stuff, like, when my brother went to McQuaid, there was a gym teacher there, and what he used to do, like, if he got mad at you, imagine this now, okay? This guy, he looked like one of those wannabe drill sergeants with the crew cut, got the eyes like a 50s mental patient or something. He did one time, he got mad at a kid. He says him stand, whips a basketball at his face.
Right.
It doesn't get fired or anything.
I got knuckles in the solar plexus, like a backhand thing, by a gym teacher.
See,
and then run around the track after he hit me, and I could barely breathe.
We always heard about the nuns being able to beat you, but I never saw it. But I know, like,
some of them. Well, they didn't beat you.
Another positive thing, you were talking about somebody. We should talk about that first, so we don't forget.
What's that?
The person you talked about bringing people together.
Oh, Michael Franti.
Yes.
Yeah, we saw him yesterday at Concert on the Bluffs, which is a great place to see a show.
Shout out to Heather, my friend Heather. She's actually holding a glass of wine on an email for one of them. I get it on email. I text like my friend Liz, like they're best friends. That's not Heather, is it?
And his whole approach, and I don't think it's even a shtick. His whole approach, he's always been like this. He's kind of a mixed race guy. He's Portuguese and French or something, adopted. But he's very, very one world. All his songs are upbeat, happy. You can jump around, dance, almost like kid songs. But they're not. I mean, the Sound of Sunshine, going down, it's like
we want people to
nice
keep listening, stop singing.
Yeah,
drum.
But he gets everybody jumping. I mean, these are people that are barely moving and they're jumping around. And he did a thing where he says, "Okay, everybody just hug the person next to you or near you," and so you're just meeting people, saying hi. I mean, it's kind of like the church thing, even though that's not as good. I mean, but this is like, then he did like a square dance thing, and he had everybody. We were just switching partners, the people in front of you, people in back of you, and it was just fun. And then the groups, we would get together in a group, and then he would say, everybody take a turn and get in the center, and everybody would just go nuts in the center and do whatever, improv, some stupid dance stuff, and it just gets you to shake it loose for a minute,
So what we need, and we try to do on this show, like if we ever do talk politics, we're not going to talk like any hot issues or anything. We'll just talk in general. We want to bring, have fun, lighten up a little bit.
Right,
these
but
days.
That's what I'm saying. His thing was more being inclusive, and he was saying everyone in the world is a human, and every being down to the last frog and ant and this and that is put here is worth it, and he has a mantra or a saying, his new album, I think, and this says it all, man. And I should have bought the shirt, but I was financially restricted.
You can go on his site one day when you have more money, and
work hard and be kind. What else is there? That's it. That's it right there. And I don't even have to get political, because that's it. It's like, take that, you guys that just want your stuff handed to you. So there.
It's like Willie Nelson used to say, like he used to, in his words, right wing, left wing, whatever, Martians, whatever it is, you start picking, you start playing, you forget about all the stuff. But we're going to try to bring in a little bit of Halloween because it's October, and we'll stick it in with a bunch of our guests too.
What? Stick it in our... What?
I knew as soon as I said that I shouldn't have said it. It's like, oh, goodness.
I shouldn't even have said anything.
Yeah. But we'll talk a little bit of... I got home late. I saw The Wizard of Oz at Jiva last night.
Oh, okay.
And I will say my one criticism is that if you're going to Jiva, go early. The parking has become atrocious.
Yeah.
Really. I actually parked on Monroe, and literally Woodbury's right around the block. You don't realize it. But parking is, and partly, too, is they have like the rest little diner, and I think they call it Godot's, and it's good because there was people waiting in line for Godot's, a big line.
Yeah.
But but the parking, otherwise everything's good there.
How was the makeup and stuff? Did they go the distance, or did you have to sort of?
Well, it was sort of neat. They did a lot of, it dawned on me after I got home. It was a lot of like Imagine Wizard of Oz mixed with Rocky Horror.
Okay.
That type of thing. The only thing was
theater makeup.
I was freaked out by the dog.
Oh, yeah?
Because I figure, okay, they're not going to get a real dog, right? So Toto is like this Care Bear. It's a purse, and there's a person holding it, wagging its tail, dressed like in a goofy thing.
Oh, my
like
God.
a munchkin wagging it and going woof.
Yikes.
And the Wicked Witch of the West was a wine-drinking Karen.
So 2 rules. Go early and pop some acid before you see this. Okay.
Oh, this one, I'm not endorsing that, but this was one of those shows that was like surreal like that, where a lot of color, a lot of like bright colors, and actually the Tin Man was basically Freddie Mercury.
Oh, okay.
Which I thought, Mercury Tin.
Okay.
And they follow it all along. And I worked on some effects with my friends in Method Machine. You met, Mario and all them.
Right.
The toughest thing to do, if you're doing, you're on the computer when you're doing, like, if you got the TV, to sync the voice up.
Right.
And they had a couple things, like, they have, like, television screens, and they have them talking, like, the wizard in his lab.
Oh,
and
okay.
Trying to sync that up's really tough.
Right.
But it was fun, and it's like one of those things where you could go...
AV's come a long way in the live theater.
Yeah,
setting.
I mean, I remember for Closer we did that, and I think one night we got it exact because the character's writing.
Yeah.
And remember, it's live, too.
Right.
They actually had... speaking of that, so there's a part in the poppy field, and I'm not spoiling this for anybody. Anybody knows The Wizard of Oz by now, I hope, where they're passed out in the poppies, and So they call Glinda. Glinda brings this bubble machine. I've seen them around now. Julia used one on helium bubble when she's blowing the bubbles. It breaks. The water goes flying all over. And she makes this like ad lib. The scarecrow goes off, pretends to fall down, grabs the towel, and wipes it off. Because always, that's the thing. Our friends from MUCC, Everything Will Be Back, Mario and the gang, they have a play in November. They'll tell you the biggest thing is if you just keep going. It's like if you're playing.
Of course, yeah.
You're not going to stop mid-song going, I played it wrong.
Right.
So I got home, I watched The Fly. The original Fly. And I'm thinking, think about just the cool concept. Maybe long after we're like people listening to episodes of this, we're long gone. They try to clone us to bring us back for it, but that matter transport, it might be possible. But would you want to get your atoms all scrambled?
No.
But
no more than they are.
Yes, I mean, we're talking. But just the idea, think about like somebody comes up with this, okay, we have these teleportation things. So, a fly gets in, something else gets in that has DNA.
I think that's a great concept, though.
Yeah.
Didn't somebody really good write that? Matheson or somebody?
No, it wasn't. I looked down. I never heard of the guy. I looked down I got the DVD out of the library.
Okay.
I looked down. It's a short story, though.
Yeah.
No, I Am Legend's Incredible Shrinking Man's
that's
Matheson.
Matheson, yeah.
Great author. But so the part that gets me, though, okay, at the end, when
Right.
you help me.
Well, even David Hedison, I was watching this, review on horror movies, and they interviewed him, and he even said he couldn't believe it because he did this whole scene, he said, where he was, oh, God, and he's like going through all this extreme emotion.
Help me.
And they reduced it, they sped it up, and they reduced it to that.
But I can't help myself, though, because reading Vincent Price, he goes, him and the other actor, they did so many things, because they're laughing, they can't get through without laughing.
Right.
Help me, please, help me.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He was doing it very serious and screaming and yelling and normal, and then they got the bright idea to speed it up and do that.
Because it starts, that's probably what they use, because it's the part where Price is sitting on the bench, you start hearing the noise, like, help me. Then he goes in, but then the sun comes out and says, I found the fly.
Right.
But that's like, I love the creativity, and that's actually for a remake. Cronenberg did a really good job.
I thought so.
Imagine you splice it together so you're like the Brundlefly, you're the mix.
Right. That was a good movie. Those were great.
And what got me for that Fly movie was when I was in Toronto, one of the scenes he's walking by in Toronto was Yonge Street. It's where I walked by.
Right.
That's why I bought the Beatles' White Album, because at the time, American money was better than Canadian money, so I got it cheaper.
Right.
I bought tons of T-shirts there and everything, like these old T-shirts, which I have an old Batman one from there I have to find still. But it was like really fun on Yonge Street there and everything in those days.
I had an Invisible Man T-shirt that I bought a few years ago.
Can you find it?
I've been trying to find it. I have all these shirts. I find every one but that one, and I don't know. It's wadded up in a corner.
I
somewhere.
have to organize my shirts and everything as I find them all. But one thing we were going to talk about is how would you compare the older horror to the newer horror?
Well, I think the story was more the thing, and in fact, I was just watching this morning on Tubi. There was a Legend of Bela Lugosi thing, and it was narrated and put together by one of the guys from Famous Film Monsters magazine. And he was quite the dapper guy when he started in the Hungary and the Broadway thing, but he took so many weird paths. I mean, he did a lot of movies in the 10 years after Dracula. He did a ton. And then the 40s, it got changed. By the time he finally did that Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, it was a little bit weird. But I mean, he was the thing. He was the crap, man. Back when Dracula hit, he was the darling of Hollywood.
Well, for me, White Zombie and
White
Island of
Zombie's
Lost
excellent.
Souls too.
They were talking about that. They
Island
said
of Lost Souls is one of the freakiest.
Yep. They said that those two are still scary today as they were when they
That
came
was
out.
the one I actually met Faye Ray briefly at the Dryden.
Oh yeah.
Years ago, and she was talking about all Hollywood. And I said to her, "But I know what movie everybody mentions to you, but I really liked Island of Lost Souls."
Right. Well, the story was more the thing, and they, the whole thing where they kept the scares till the third act type of thing, and they built up, the story and the suspense, and I just think now they rely too much on effects, and if you don't spend a lot of money on the effects, the internet tears you to bits. And I just bought the Flash movie, to get off the subject for a second. But
no, that's the whole thing.
I liked it myself.
No, how was it? Give a little review of that, because...
Well, I bought a deluxe edition, so there's a making of thing added in. And they put so much work into that movie. They looked at 4 different mansions for Wayne Manor. They got one for the outside, one for the inside, because they wanted a view with a stairway looking down on a front door. So they found one that had that. And then they built this giant bat cave, bigger than the Nolan. I mean, they just did so much work on this thing. And they had a body double for Ezra Miller. Like when he meets himself in the past, that was actually another actor. And they were showing the filming, and he was wearing this weird thing, like a camera thing that pops out of his goes around his, like a collar, and it pops up like a little periscope thing. And apparently they did some sort of facial copy thing. And it was pretty technically advanced. And, I mean, the humor was good. They sprinkled in some interesting humor. Like, there was a section where Batman is going after these guys, and Wonder Woman shows up and saves him because he had to jump over a bridge to get this guy before he fell in the water. So she pulls him up with her rope, a lasso of truth, right? So he's still got the lasso on him. All of a sudden he starts saying things like, well, I have a really big ego. You can't tell me. I'm not going to say thank you. And he goes, and I was scared by my parents' death, so I adopted this big bad persona. And then he's like, and then Ezra's looking at him like, why is he saying this stuff? It was great. It made sense. The humor to me made sense, and I thought it was good. I thought some of the running scenes were a little strange, and like where they show the things around him in slow mo. I'm not a big slow mo guy, but they have to get the point across that everything is moving slowly in comparison to him. But it just seems like he's standing still, while the stuff's around. I don't know. It was just they could have had more streaking type, not that kind of streaking, but the yellow and red streaking. But all in all, I really liked it. The story held together, and
I become addicted now. There's the one YouTube channel where it's blockbusters and something where it's what it might have been. It's talks about the movies that we never saw, which is really fun.
Right. I read about it.
And they went on about what Superman 2 would have been. And Henry Cavill was really, really wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And, of course, once again, it would have been Brainiac.
Yeah, that would have been good.
And it's too bad because I thought he was a really good Superman, and they just...
Well, I just think the dark thing ruined it. But, like, that's the thing. In this movie where they put in Nicolas Cage and all that stuff at the end... It was kind of like crammed in at the end.
Yeah, I heard about that, because of the Superman Lives.
Yeah, well, and he was fighting the giant spider, so they got to put that in. And the George Reeves thing and the Christopher Reeve thing, they were just kind of stills. They weren't really doing anything, but it was just that he was passing through these other worlds, and he was just seeing the different iterations of it. And that was kind of a cool thing. The ending was very strange, which was kind of funny because... You've seen the ending. You heard about the ending,
yeah.
Right? Okay. So he's getting
skip forward if you haven't seen it just a little bit.
he's getting interviewed at the end. He gets his father off of the murder charge. Like, oh, he got that right. And then out steps George Clooney as Bruce Wayne, and he looks at him and he's like, "What WTF? What are you?" And he goes, "Well, what? I'm Batman or I'm Bruce Wayne or something," and it just ends like that, and it's just like what people don't get, because I've been reading all the internet stuff, and what they don't get is, okay, number one, it breaks the fourth wall. Number two, it's poking fun at the whole thing, and number two, no matter how hard he tried, he still didn't get it all right. He still couldn't get things normal. He still screwed something up, and I think that's I don't know. To me, it was just a kind of a cool ending. I don't know.
I think it's a little too. I've been reading, watching that channel. One of the biggest problems with films you find is merchandising. Yeah. That Joel Schumacher said the reason, which I consider, Batman, Robin, one of the worst films ever made in terms of comic book movies. Schumacher said they kept pushing him for all the stuff just to tie in with merchandise.
Right. I found a 4-disc set with
I have that
on each one. Yeah. And the whole thing with the Returns movie was the black goo with Penguin, and oh, how are we gonna market this? We can't have this for kids, And it was just like, and Burton was just like, he got really kind of pissed off.
Yeah, the famous stories about Return of the Jedi, when it was Revenge of the Jedi, the change because Lucas got lazy supposedly too, because the people that was working with him on the first couple movies left, and they'd be people like, this isn't a good idea, we have to do this. But he also got into, he was making even more money on merchandising.
Right.
So in Harrison Ford, the famous line, he wanted Han killed, and killed early in Return, because he said this would set up anybody could go,
right,
and the character could go set up the surprise. And the famous quote he said from Luke's, dead people don't sell action figures.
Yeah, great. Well, I guess that's unfortunately a consideration. I mean, look at the 50s. All the stuff you could buy with Western guys and
I mean, it's not
Roy
new,
Rogers
I mean, there were tie-ins to everything. We make it sound like it just happened, but I think the thing was what you saw on screen wasn't, maybe Superman wasn't smoking that cool cigarette,
right? But I mean,
cereal.
Yeah, but it's not the same as sending in a quarter or 50 cents to get something with a box top. Now you got to spend $25, $30 to get something. I mean, parents can only buy so much stuff. But one of the things, like the newer movies, to me, like the Godzilla movies are pretty good.
Yeah, I think so.
The King Kong movies were pretty good because they went back. I mean, a lot of these guys are film buffs, so they realize, okay, we got to have a real story here. We just can't have a monster running around. So I think, depending on the director and the story and the writing, but old movies are just atmospheric and more creepy, and they use the music and they used photography. Like, what was I watching? There was some movie that they were describing. Ah, damn it! Now I can't think of it.
Well, Val Lewton was an
mirrors.
example. Val Lewton was one of the examples where, like, a lot of his films, you'll see the shadows and stuff, and lighting.
There was one film I was watching a making of, and they used some kind of mirror thing and lights, just like they did in Metropolis. They did that in Metropolis too. I was reading about that, where because the German technology was off the chain back then, and they used like these mirror things to refract things and to set up weird angles, and there was more physics involved and more hands-on, which I thought.
I always think, and again, things are a lot easier today in a lot of ways, but I think there's something lost in terms of creativity when I can just go plop something on a computer. When you had to think of how to be creative,
right?
It's like, okay, we're doing a Flash Gordon thing. How are we going to do the little spaceship?
Right.
Okay, we have a laser firing. Let's go whack a telephone pole wire. Right there.
Right.
There's one I saw years ago. It was on some morning TV show where some kids made a movie. It's a real thing. It's like one of those. They made a movie. It's like a monster movie, and they did a laser effect. And even they think, how did you do that? Well, we took our nail and we ran it across the film.
The spark.
But that was like, you had to think outside the box because you had to be creative.
Right, and that's the other thing too. I mean, the effects guys back then were just more creative. But now, I think it's harder for actors because they really, really have to act because there's nothing there. I mean, when you watch these making of things, they're in a giant green room and, all right, there's a big thing in front of you.
It's acting. This is real acting. This is real acting.
Well, and even the actors, though, they say, it's nice to have something in the room, something to look at, because if you're just looking at nothing, it's hard to emote, Well,
even Alex Ross with his paintings, he would do models, and I know, like Caitlin, sometimes, like, she's had people like be models like for pictures in her comic books and stuff. Sometimes you could pick it from here, but otherwise you need you need something to work with. But that's true acting, isn't it?
Right. That's what I mean. It's harder for them,
But one of the ones I talked to you about this too, David Scull, like his books are fantastic. And you read, and one of the things also in those days, trying to get around the censors.
Oh yeah.
And you read about like the Black Cat. About how this was like really like
that was some dark stuff.
Dark stuff already, but the stuff how they got it past the censors, it's almost like necrophilia.
Right. I just watched there was a clip in that Lugosi thing about Murders in the Rue Morgue, and they showed this scene where he's got this girl, and apparently her blood's no good. So he was all mad, and she's handcuffed. Her arms are handcuffed behind her to this cross. It's not really, but it looks like an X. But if you look at it, it's a cross. So they, the way they did that, it was so clever. I mean, it was obviously a crucifixion thing, and then she dies, but she's like, raggedy old skimpy dress, and anyway, I was reading this other thing, bring it up, censors. They were talking about the Batman animated series from the 90s, and they said that because it was on Fox originally, there was censorship things they had to go by. So they said, now here's what's is pretty funny. So they said, okay, you can't show handguns, you can't show anything that a kid might emulate, any stunts or something that a kid might try to copy. Okay, so you can't have a handgun. But you can have a submachine gun because those are harder to find, and a kid can't find a submachine
Logic.
gun. So the Joker can mow down people with a submachine gun. He can't kill anybody, but the venom, the smiley venom, is okay because that's not really killing them. And oh my god!
One of the funniest ones for me was Garth Ennis. He's done The Boys,
right.
Preacher, but he said, okay, when he was doing the demon, he said when he took over the demon, it was salesman in the can. We might as well just have fun with it. So they made this one demon up, and all he does is he goes around, I am Bator, I am Bator. So they have this thing where Lobo the demon, they go down to hell and they take over and they make Bator the king. So then there's all the other demons that go, all hail the masturbator. Wow. And he said he almost got it by and somebody read it too slow.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, something. This is I have to get this in here because I've been meaning to talk about this. So I saw this magazine about The Exorcist. So I was leafing through it, and I took a picture of the article about Mercedes McCambridge, who was the demon voice. So she's an old actress, and she was a radio actress, okay? So in the 1971 or whatever that was, so she does this part. And because she's a serious voice person, I won't read it because it's kind of involved. But what she did, she ate raw eggs. She smoked. She started smoking again to husky up her voice. So she took this mixture of raw eggs and apple chunks. And yeah, I'm serious. Oh. This is method shit, right, folks? Okay. So she swallows it and mid-gullet, as she puts it, heaves it back up. And so she actually did throw up. For real. And they had a bunch of microphones with tarps on it. And that's how she did a lot of those things. And then she didn't get credited till later prints. And she was so pissed because she just, she was not cast. She did not. Why they wouldn't put her name in there, I have no idea.
Well, we should say, kids, don't try that at home, or if you do, don't blame us.
Oh, that's for sure.
For that one.
Cook the eggs first.
Oh, that's I don't know where to go after that. I sort of I had all these thoughts in my head, but after that one. So how was trick or treating when you were a kid?
Oh, fun. Usually the worst days the weather.
I had all these thoughts, and when you talked about that,
sorry.
everything just went blank.
But I had no idea. I just thought she was sitting there going, I didn't realize she did all that.
Oh, yeah, Nat King Cole, one of the things I guess he did, and maybe some other people, other crooners did in the day, obviously he died of cancer, I guess he smoked a lot to get that deep voice.
Wow. Yeah, it's amazing what people will do. I mean, look at Lon Chaney. I read things where some of his makeup, he would put fish hooks in his mouth and things like that, and really distort himself.
Well, the thing, he grew up, his parents were deaf, so that's why he learned a lot of how to communicate those stories. Right. I also found out about Boris Karloff. Boris Karloff was a little like W.C. Fields. He's another guy where you don't know the truth about a lot of stuff because he'd tell all these different stories.
Yeah, I was in this Lugosi documentary. He was in it quite a bit, obviously, and how after once Frankenstein hit, Dracula kind of took a back seat, and then it's pretty legendary that Lugosi started doing all those cheaper poverty row.
What do you mean about Old Mother Riley meets the vampire? That was higher. But Bela Lugosi meets a Brooklyn gorilla. I think there's
right. But the corpse vanishes, or there was that one, and then there was the Invisible Ray was a good one with Karloff and him.
And that's, I guess, with the relationship with Karloff, from all the reading, is they never, were enemies, but it was a case of, it's like, you're not doing well, and you have somebody there who's doing a lot better than you.
Yeah.
And it just sort of grates on you, even though they never did anything to you.
Right, and he didn't take the role because of the dialogue and the makeup, and he was getting $500 a week for Dracula. And then he didn't get anything.
Think about in those days.
Yeah.
But the thing you can find, I'm sure you've seen them. You can find posters with Lugosi as they have the spotlight on them.
Right.
But from what I heard too, the makeup was more like it was Jack Pierce makeup. I think the last one. It was more like the Golem. It was yellow.
Oh.
It wasn't like the Frankenstein makeup we see.
Right.
So. But that's the thing where there's a lot of controversy about what happened.
Well, Edison's Frankenstein.
Michael Ogle,
like
that's creepy looking. Yeah. But there's a lot of controversy about what actually happened, because up until almost a month, they had him listed as being in it. Did they just decide it didn't work? He didn't decide. Nobody really knows.
Yeah. Well, this thing covered a lot of ground. If you get a chance to watch it, I forget exactly what it's called, but it's a...
And this is something, again, we talked about editing. If you watch Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, you have to pay really close attention to know what you're doing, because in the last film, before that, remember, Igor switches the thing, Igor Frankenstein, and he's blind.
Right.
So if you watch, and they cut a lot out of Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, and actually might be the only one. How many actors played the monster in that movie? 3.
Yeah.
Because Bella had he had problems with his back and other stuff, so Glenn Strange came in, Lon Chaney did double duty.
Right.
But I guess so he was only the monster for about 8 minutes. But you could see him mouthing, "I'm blind." And that's why the creature, watch in the cave, you can barely see it, "I'm blind."
Yeah, well, apparently, I guess that was the ending of another Frankenstein movie where he was blinded. I didn't know that.
Well, what happened when they transfer the brain, it's different blood.
Oh, okay.
So he's blind. The one, it's not Son, is a ghost, maybe.
Yeah.
It's the one where he just transfer Igor. "I'm going to put my brain in your, my friend."
One thing about, I think it was Son of Frankenstein, right? The one with Basil Rathbone. Is that Ghost?
I think so.
Yeah. Or whatever. Whichever one that is. Why he's wearing that furry thing.
That was Son of.
Yeah, I could.
It's cold. It's cold in those.
I never. That just seemed like the weirdest costuming to me. To wear this vest thing. I don't know.
And the other thing too is Boris. You might have read the book. You might not. The monster becomes very eloquent in the book.
Yeah,
but he didn't want to talk.
Right.
He didn't want the monster to remain mute.
Yeah.
So that's why in Son, for no reason, they just have him not talking again.
Yeah.
But come back. We're going to have espresso.
Yeah. Well, one thing I wanted to get out before I have to dash off.
We have the hook coming.
Yoink. I think one of the things about those Universal things, you got to remember, all those guys were born in the late 1800s. So when Lem Lee came over here, all those tales from Eastern Europe were pretty fresh to them. I mean, those stories were probably part of what you like, Hansel and Gretel type stuff to them, And I just think that there was a creepiness and an authenticity to those because of that. Because these guys really were from back there.
You watched the Spanish version of Dracula, too. I think it's better than the original.
It is, I guess, yeah.
And my dad and his cousin Norbert, when they were kids, said they went to see the Wolfman. They were hiding behind the seats. You think how people back then, they used to have the thing with Frankenstein, there'll be doctors in case you pass out.
Right. Yep.
And everything. But that was but they were freaking out, about the Wolfman. They were hiding behind the seats in the theater and everything.
And then William Castle ramped that whole concept up, having shocked.
You ever see Matinee, the movie? It's John Goodman is a William Castle-like character.
No.
I mean, it's light, it's fun. He comes to, he's doing a horror show, and he's got the thing where he's putting all the gimmicks in the theater.
Wow. I never saw that.
It's a light movie. But John Waters used to say Emergo. They try to find the button, sit with the buzzer. The skeleton would come up and get stuck.
Did you ever see Homicidal?
That one I haven't seen
That
yet.
was a cool William Castle. That was one of the better ones. It was the less goofy one, except at the end, the reveal is a little hard to buy, but talk about gender bender. That I won't say anymore. You have
Go watch
you have to
it.
see the movie.
Yeah, I mean, some, more obscure were like, go watch it, go find out, or whatever.
It's a great movie. It's pretty creepy. And then I watched that Joan Crawford one in the late 50s that she did, when she's an axe murderess or something.
But did you hear the one, too? The old joke in the 20s was, don't step on that spider, it might be Lon Chaney.
Right.
But we have like an abbreviated show today because Greg's got to get on his broomstick and go drum.
Yeah, got to go do something.
So, but we have a great month coming up. And what do you have coming up this month?
I have
Jared's always busy.
I have the B-side with the Brian Lindsay Band on the October 6th. I have an In the Mix show at Smokin' Joe's, which is a kind of a classic rock cover deal, on the 7th. And then, not too much after that. And then I have a thing at Abilene on Black Friday, which will be interesting.
Oh, those are, I can't imagine. I have a dentist appointment in January. I know everybody wants to hear that, but, amazing it's going to be January already. But Count Mike will be coming out of his coffin soon for a whole lot of shaking.
Yeah, we got some good guests, though.
And we also, the Archive Ravens have a show at the Little on the 23rd. I know because Ava just told me this morning. And we have a whole bunch, it's that season. The Hungerford this week's having its Halloween thing.
Oh, yeah?
Grease Creepers, if you could stop in, it's from 5 till 9 on Friday. I'm going to go down. Our friends, the Grease Creepers, are playing. And Tommy says hi. He's really, really busy right now. So he'll be back eventually.
Tommy Brunette?
No, Tommy, our good old D&D guy.
Oh, okay.
Tommy Brunette's always busy.
Yeah.
Tommy will get you eventually.
Yeah,
and I'm sure
sometime.
stuff's going on there. There's tons of Halloween stuff. And
I'll try to make it to Hungerford. I know I got to play, though. The thing is, I got to be there. I got to be at B-side. What day is that? Is that this Friday?
It's Friday, 5 till 9, because it's
this Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I can make that.
And, it's one of those things when the horrible C word came up in 2020.
Yeah.
I didn't go, and it used to be a tradition every year, and I haven't gone since, because I get to the point where it's time, it's like you do something enough times, have enough like Christmas parties, Halloween parties, you got to stop for a while.
Right.
But I go see our friend Christy, Olivia, Raven, and everybody else in the studio, get some presents for a birthday for a friend. Go see the Creepers. It's always fun.
Oh, yeah. Happy birthday, Debbie. My nice, lovely girlfriend.
Well, so we had to get that in.
Yes, we did.
But we have like a theme song to start October, and it's kind of hinting at one of our guests coming up. We have the good old Eddie Nebula the Plague, which we would probably get this one restricted if I showed the cover of the CD.
Oh.
If you saw it. But it's called Sleeping in the Cemetery by Eddie Nebula the Plague.
Perfect.
And they have a song called This House is Haunted. But would you believe for Suburban Nights, it's spelled S-U-B, Bourbon. Would you believe I have the CD? Somebody stole the case.
Wow.
But I think that's what This House is Haunted on. I think some people just steal them and then they listen to them later.
Yeah.
They're like, we never heard of them, but it's there. Somebody stole my Posies CD from my car. And who listens to the Posies?
I don't know. Not I.
But it's going to be a fun month, everybody. And I know during summer we were all discombobulated.
And then we'll come up with something even better for Thanksgiving.
Yeah. We won't talk turkey.
Bro!
But it's just, we're into the holiday months and everything else. It's officially October. So shun your candy corn. Candy corn circus peanuts, which are worse.
None. They're both bad.
And apologies for being like completely out there today because getting to the show was such a trip.
Yeah.
But we'll have lots of fun in the months ahead. And during this episode, I think it was interesting.
Yeah.
And Greg's got to go, and we can't keep him. So adios, I'll
Nobody wants to keep me.
See you later.
You tried
Bye-bye.
to walk your car, but you've had a few drinks and it seems so far away from the bar. When the sun goes down, the